Well, one of the big stories to come out of yesterday's elections is Danica Roem. The Democrat won a seat in the Virginia State House, beating out conservative Republican Bob Marshall. In the process, Roem became the first openly transgender person in the country elected to a state legislature. And adding to the drama of this story, her opponent tried and failed to get a so-called bathroom bill passed that would have prevented Roem from using a woman's restroom. Delegate-elect Danica Roem joins me now by phone. Danica, has it sunk in yet?
Yeah, I'm very, very well aware of, what it is that I've gotten myself into here, and I've already made about 5 phone calls today to different people who are in elected government, and as well as the Prince William County representative on the Virginia Department of Transportation, talking about Route 28. Today is my first day of governing. Granted, I've been dealing with media the whole day today, but I ran on a platform of replacing the traffic lights with overpasses, in Centerville and when they fly over at Orchard Bridge Drive in Yorkshire. And, I'm calling the people I need to do to get that done. I'm already in the process of setting up meetings, and, I am out to fulfill my chief, campaign promise to the people of the 13th District, which is to get Route 28 fixed. That's why I'm doing it.
What prompted you to run?
Because that road's been backed up for 30 years. And, when I was a kid going to All Saints Catholic School in Manassas, I'd be sitting at school sometimes until 6:30, 7 o'clock at night, waiting for my mom to come pick me up because she was battling out traffic for 2 hours on Route 28. And, as far as I was concerned, I had ideas to get it done. We have money to get it done, and I saw that we have the existing precedent to get it done, based on what VDOT had done between Route 7 and Route 50, along the 28 corridor in between Sterling and Chantilly. And so the way I saw it was, hey, I've got a really positive vision on this one thing, but I'm not, just a single issue candidate. I've got a lot of other, things too, like, traffic, jobs, schools, healthcare, and, equality too.
You beat out one of the most socially conservative state lawmakers who openly said he was one of the chief homophobes in Virginia. What do you make of the fact that you beat this person out by at least 9 percentage points?
Well, look, the first thing is, come January, Delegate Marshall is going to be one of my constituents, and I don't attack my constituents. I made that point throughout the campaign that when you're elected to public service, you shouldn't be singling out and stigmatizing your constituents, and you shouldn't be discriminating against them either. And so that means that you need to be inclusive, and you need to serve the people who live in your district, and that's what I plan to do.
You talk about Route 28, particularly Manassas Park. There's a big influx of immigrants, of millennials. How influential do you think this group was to getting you into office?
Well, we certainly performed very, very well in Manassas Park. We won about 60% of the vote there, and right next door in Yorkshire Precinct, we won about 60% of the vote. And that's between Manassas Park and Yorkshire, that's the heart of the Route 28 corridor. It's right there. And meanwhile, in Delegate Marshall's home precinct, we came within 9 votes of winning that one, because that is also right next to 28. And it was there's a lot of things at play here. We had a lot of great support from a lot of millennials. I'm a millennial myself, but we also had a lot of support from CASA in Action, which is, an immigrants' rights activist group that knocked on a ton of doors for us, and we ran an inclusive campaign where we said, we welcome your help to this campaign, no matter who you are, what you look like, where you come from, how you worship, who you love. We welcome you here. And so because of that, we had hundreds and hundreds of volunteers knocking on doors and making phone calls for us throughout the campaign. And we really, we knocked on more than 75,000 doors. And what I hope this shows is that when you're focused on the core quality of life issues that affect the most number of people within your district, like traffic, jobs, schools, and healthcare, that you can succeed. You can succeed by, when we focus on building up our infrastructure instead of tearing each other down. I'll never be silent in the face of discrimination. And at the same time, my legislative priorities are going to be really, really focused on, everything from water infrastructure in the city of Manassas Park to, putting in a bill that would create a state-level FOIA ombudsman so that when people, file a Freedom of Information Act request, they can be expedited and delivered much sooner, so that people don't have to deal with obfuscation and don't have to deal with outrageous fees in order to get their access to information.
There was an image that caught our eye. It was right after the election, I believe. You spoke with former Vice President Joe Biden. Talk about folks who supported you. What was that moment like, and what did he say to you?
Well, the moment was, very surreal because we were still waiting on absentee ballots from Prince William County to come in. Everywhere else had declared. So I didn't want to declare victory yet, but we knew that, things looked extremely good at that point. And when, Joe Biden called, we talked about when I drove out to Delaware to, out to Dover to pay respects to his son, Beau Biden, standing next to his, flag-draped, casket over in the state legislature. Because when Beau Biden had fought, and successfully fought for as state attorney general for the legislature to pass an inclusive trans rights, bill, I thanked the vice president for raising someone of the character of Beau, because when he was fighting for, trans folks, he was fighting for people like me, and I told him that. And Joe Biden put his hands on my shoulders. He looked me in the eye and he said, "We mean that. We mean that." And we don't have that anymore in this administration. We don't have the sitting vice president willing to look a trans woman in the eye and tell her her rights are worth protecting, which is why that we need to make sure that inclusion is important and is highlighted at the state level so that we make our states more inclusive and make sure that people know that, Virginia is open for business. And, look, my gender is, obviously the news story here, but it wasn't my chief qualification for office. My 9 years, 2 months, and 2 weeks serving as the lead reporter of the Gainesville Times, covering my lifelong home community of the greater Prince William County area, that's what qualified me for office. And I think it's also time that regarding the administration that, this is an administration that has declared that reporters are the enemies of the state. That's so wildly unacceptable. And when in our republic, we have to have an independent, free press that is thriving. And by electing a reporter, both in my, in the 13th district as well as the 12th district in Chrishurst, the people have made it clear that they value what reporters bring to the table, and that accountability in government really matters a lot, because that's what reporters do. We hold governments accountable, and I'll always be a reporter before I'm a politician.
Delegate-elect Danica Roem, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for your time. Thank you.